Are we being no? The scary voice is spoken, Raul. The scary voice is spoken.
Recording basic process.
Yes, this is what happens when you don't
I
write a bit.
don't know what to do with my hands.
This is Vibecast, not Highcast. This is not the 420 karate
Right.
podcast.
We watch a lot of Talladega Nights.
I haven't seen.
Coffee,
I haven't seen that
coffee,
movie. I've seen
beer,
only bits and
dry
pieces of
beer.
that. But anyway, well, it's been 4 months. So greetings, everyone. Welcome to Karate Without Belts. Um,
Welcome. Welcome to the Bourbon Bar.
this is probably going to be an audio recording, so
Oh, okay, well then you can see the bourbon that's behind me.
this does track well for you because this every time we've done a podcast, you're like, look at this thing that I'm doing. I'm like, dude, this is audio. This is an. I don't have a face for radio or for face for. Yeah, I have a face for radio, but I don't have a face for. I don't have your face, right? I am not
I
good
am a
looking enough for that.
dog-faced troll, as I tell my wife. She goes, "You better watch where you're going." I'm like, "Baby, I'm 5'4". I'm a dog-faced troll. The only thing I got going for me is I'm good at accounting and I'm kind of good at karate, but not the best. So we're all
I'm
right.
okay at teaching, and I'm sometimes okay at karate.
Yeah.
But not today because the doctor told me you have no physical damage. Lose weight, fatso.
Ugh.
So it's been a minute since we've done any sort of recording for the podcast,
Yes.
but we're coming back. I mean, we are totally back. If this was John Wick, I would just be saying, "Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back."
I think I'm back.
That movie is not that movie like the first one. I'm surprised how popular it became because it really does read like a straight to video like uh
It does, but I think the fight scenes saved it. The fight scenes were
and
like the
Keanu
Keanu
saves
was
it.
awesome. I mean, just as a person, like his likability, but it just across the board is spectacular. But his the fight scenes and the fact and all the sambo that he was doing in the fight
Yeah.
scenes, everyone was just like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, the first one is where they had to kind of buy everybody to get everybody on board, but then like they opted for the second, third, and I haven't seen the fourth one yet because it's not out in Japan.
I
It's not
haven't I haven't watched it yet. I just honestly I think I want to say I'm just tapped out on the series. After the third one, I'm just like, ugh,
the
I
third
just
one is basically a repeat of the second one.
it was a little bit. It was kind of I don't know. I thought it was as far as the storyline. I was like, the first storyline was good. The second one was okay, but then the third is just like I'm not buying in on this anymore.
I think essentially what the fourth one does is kind of
Is it
do
does it
what the
close
third
does
one
it
was
close it?
trying
Does
to
it finally
do.
close the series? Because I'm
No, apparently it's not, and apparently there's like a prequel show to it. This is what people are tuning in for our hot
maybe
takes
John
on John
Constantine
Wick.
too, and I'll be all right.
They apparently want to still do that. But could you imagine if this now imagine this. It's the same plot, it's the same characters, it's the same everything. But could you imagine if this was a Steven Seagal movie?
Wouldn't
Everyone's
make it.
favorite CIA asset?
Wouldn't make it. Wouldn't have made it.
No. No. I
No.
I mean I think they would have I think he's probably made a version of it. Just of him doing sit down martial arts.
Yeah, it's probably true. I think
But
his best one was Marked for Death. After that, for Seagal, it was just craziness.
his son has an Aikido dojo in Japan, and I'm
Okay,
slightly tempted to just go there and be like,
check it out.
yeah, kind of, because he's still that somehow managed to be an Aikido head. And I mean, I guess it's not that hard, but
No,
not to diss Aikido, but
nothing wrong with Aikido.
I heard this week apparently the Moria Ueshiba apparently learned parts of Aikido from a spirit. Apparently, I don't
Oh,
don't know if I can verify
we're
this.
emphasizing this now. Come on, man.
Well, maybe this was late day, right? Not the one that wasn't really affected by jujitsu. More.
He was an Aikido jiu-jitsu master, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I
Yeah, just
well
live off that. Is that not enough?
as a friend of mine today had kind of shown me this slightly uh let's say, less than favorable view of samurai in a
Okay.
book that I have no idea where he pulled this from, but is just basically saying like, yeah, samurai they just evolved into people doing kata and forms and they just became bankers in nice silk suits. I'm like, this is just how rich people act. So I mean, yeah, like they're not practicing real world everything because they're rich. They just
Yeah.
pay people to do that for them.
Well, the Book of Five Rings, the Miyamoto Musashi was talking about the three different, classifications of the people of the day. It was their merchant class, and then there was farmers, and then there was the warrior class, right? So the merchant classes were like the people making money, and then the warrior class, obviously the ones defending, and then the farmers were kind of seen as like lower class.
But like any other culture, I think this is just true across the board. You had warrior class, which is divided into people who fight and people who sit around and tell people
How to
how to
fight?
fight
Yeah, yeah,
or what to do, right?
yeah,
And I think it's just, and this is, I think, true of any time in history where you have just these guys who have hold high ranks who don't really do a whole lot, don't really know a whole lot, but oh yes, we have people who do the fighting for us.
yeah.
So, but anyway, Earl, how the hell are you doing, man?
Doing all right. I am fighting things at work at the moment. We have a manager who quit, so I am dealing with taking over their engagements, making sure things are moving somewhat smoothly, although it's a little rocky start right now. I have to travel 200 miles a day, 2 days a week to
Oh,
go to the office that he was at to make sure everyone's kind of still staying on track. Although I had to finish my stuff up, and I told him that. So this week it just finished. I finished up, I'd say 80% of what I needed to get done. As far as doing, nobody knows me. I'm a certified public accountant, so I deal with financial statements and audits. And I had to get a financial statement out the door and an audit out the door, plus another financial statement, but that's going to lag because the client, as usual, doesn't want to give me everything that I asked for. On the karate front, I am making small strides in the area. So I have moved from New York, Long Island, New York, to the upstate in South Carolina. I've been here for over 2 years now.
yep.
I have created a dojo in my garage,
Garage Dojo.
very
Not
small.
scary at
Well,
all.
I'll say not small. It's 400 square feet, and I'm utilizing at least 350 square feet of it
For tax
for the
purposes only.
Well, no, no, no. Even then, I'm not even claiming that space for the taxes. But it's fully licensed in the state of South Carolina. I have a limited liability company to protect myself. I have martial arts insurance associated with the company. I have two heavy bags. I have a full six set of Bogle gear, six of them, one, two, three, four, five, six sets of Bogle gear. I have a wall mirror. I have a full collapsible weight set that can be set out for Hojo Undo or heavy lifting, or literally collapsed and put against the wall to open up for kata and kumite and kobudo.
Wait, hold on. Go back. Say that again.
I have a collapsible weight set.
For what?
Hojo Undo, or how do you say that? Did I screw that up? Hojo
Ojo undo.
Undo. Sorry.
Undo.
Undo.
Because there's that in Japanese. It's just
Okay.
So
So
undo.
sorry. I just
I'm just like,
butchered the
I
entire
don't know if I
Japanese.
can let this slide or not.
Don't let it slide. You got to
Go-
correct, man. Just like when people call me Paul around here, it ain't Paul, it's Raul.
Wait, really?
See, I've gotten into this.
How? It's an
They look at
R's right there.
they look at AUL and just they disregard the first letter.
You got to move back to the Northeast, man. You got to get
No,
out of the.
they did it in the Northeast too, but I gave up.
What?
I gave up when I came down here.
I thought
Uh,
John was bad, but this is literally giving you just a new letter in the beginning of your name because it
they
sounds boringer.
Paul Perez, are you there? Yep,
I
I'm
mean,
right here.
just letting it slide. When they put up your gravestone, it's gonna be Zal Perez.
Yeah, I saw. I order meat at the deli now. What's your name? Paul. How do you spell that? Paul. Like they do it all the time. So I gave up. I am now Paul in real life. On paper, I'm Raul.
This is gonna start getting confusing when we actually have to work on promoting your dojo. Uh,
That's fine. But yeah, go back. Oh, going back to the dojo. Sorry, I just created a website. Um, although John disagrees with the format.
well, I don't disagree with the formatting. I disagree with um
All of it.
I'm just I think there's room for improvement.
John
All right.
wants it.
It is a success in progress.
Success and progress. There we go.
I think
So
that's what the young people say now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the dojo can hold at least 6 people, including myself. I have stations set up where you can do. So there's two. I teach 2 days a week. So Fridays is going to be kata. It'd be the karate programs would be kata and yakusoku kumite and kobudo, and then Saturday mornings would be bogu kumite training. So you would hit heavy bags. You would work on footwork, and then depending on your skill level, if you've achieved enough, enough skill in those types of areas, then we start do light sparring, and then eventually get to the heavy sparring.
Okay. Okay. So kind of like a regular standard karate sort of deal on a Friday, and then on a
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning, more of a focus on maybe you can say like cardio fitness, and then also that will take you into sparring and take
You
you to
take you
become
right into
more
sparring.
active.
Exactly. I
You
think
could
that
just
that's
have karate sleepovers on weekends.
we could do that. And then I have a full bourbon bar, as you cannot see because it's going to be full audio. So Friday nights, if you're so inclined, you've been more than happy to imbibe in a little bit of stuff. I have at least 65 bottles of different bourbon. I can't even remember how many I have.
How did you get away with that?
How did I get away with it?
How did like
The wife likes to drink a little bit too, so
okay, all right. Well, then that makes perfect sense then.
I
I'm
got
just
into
thinking
okay. So here's what happened. I was getting older, so I'm 45 years old.
you were, but now you're getting younger.
Yeah, now I'm getting younger, and I wanted to do something that was old, and I liked I drinking beer kind of bloated me, and I was kind of getting out of my beer phase, and I was like, well, what else is out there? And I tried bourbon whiskey, and I never liked other whiskeys before, like Jameson's. I mean, it was all right. I didn't really like it, but I tried bourbon whiskey, and then I looked into how it's made and all that stuff, and I really liked not only the flavor profile, but the fact that it varies from different maker to maker, and each maker has a different flavor profile, and it's all natural. So, and there's very stringent making requirements for it to be considered a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Hmm.
So it's pretty legit. Where other places can inject, like different coloring and stuff like that to make it, you can't do that with this. It's pretty much all natural.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
just
I
kept
like how you said you had a beer phase, and I moved out of that phase, and I became more sophisticated, man.
no, I'm all for went into cigars and whiskey.
As you approach a certain age, which you just bounce back from, and then could just
Yeah,
get younger. But the what is it? Last time you were on this podcast, we were drinking whiskey.
we were. I made you go out and you picked yourself up. What'd you get? I forgot what you
God, I
got.
forget.
Elijah Craig, I think,
Yeah, no, I
or
don't think.
Buffalo Trace. It was Elijah.
Yes, that was the one. That was the one.
That, that is
Um,
a very good one. You can't get that in South Carolina. Um, they don't ship it too often around here. Even though it's a
you can get
$25
okay.
whiskey, you can't find it very much. If you do find it, it's $40. So it's like, although I had 6 or 7 bottles I had bought in New York, they're still sitting in that little decant underneath there.
Fine, I'll put the video up online.
Oh, we
Fine.
didn't we didn't put it up.
No, I'll put the video of. I didn't put the video of us drinking up online. I just put
Oh,
the
okay.
audio up. But since you keep on doing the whole head turn around and all that other stuff of pointing out that you have bourbon,
That's okay.
fine, fine. I'll just
You
put
don't
the
have to.
video online. I'm not editing anything out though.
That's fine.
You
You don't have to add anything
can't
out.
make me. No, it's all right. Uh,
So I can't pick my
everyone has
nose.
to put up with our ums and uhs on YouTube. Otherwise, if you're listening to this on any of your other podcast catchers of choice, uh, maybe it'll be less ooey and ummy. I don't know.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
We will see what happens. But
Yeah.
so you've recently opened up the dojo,
I've been open for a year, but I
right?
then ran into some medical issues where I guess I overtrained. I was running and hitting the bags pretty religiously, like 3 to 4 days a week,
Eesh.
as, as I was, promoting the dojo, and my Achilles tendons in both legs just said, "I'm done, you old bastard," and I would get out of bed in the morning, and it would be really difficult to walk, and it would take maybe about an hour for my Achilles tendon to warm up, and I could start walking around, but I'd walk with a little bit of a limp because it'd still be very, very sore. So I went to physical therapy for 4 months. I've got most of it dissipated, but I think I need to see a specialist because
Okay.
I can't still do 100% heavy um, bag work. I can do heavy lifting and stuff like that, but as far as hitting the bag and doing my Tai Sabaki stuff, it gets very, very tender. So, for instance, we had a seminar that I had conducted earlier, not earlier, I think a couple months ago now, in August.
It's
And
September. That was literally 1 month ago.
yeah, wow, it's just work has been
It was
that
a
hectic.
couple months ago. That
A
month
month
that
ago, yeah,
month ago.
about a month ago, we had a seminar where we because Hanshi Albert Oliver Giraldi had passed away in April, who was the leader of our organization,
And
and we wanted to have a
a
memorial seminar for him.
I
And
can't tell you enough how much that guy in my younger days had really affected kind of my view on training and my view
mhm,
on like longevity and people who have like trained for a long time.
he was
Um,
84 and still training.
yeah,
It's
and
great, and he looked great.
yeah,
He looked great, but age catches up with us all, and he ended up getting pneumonia, um, and he couldn't recover from it, unfortunately. So we got the news one day that he was in the hospital and with double pneumonia, and then the news 3 hours later was he didn't make it. So that was a really tough day for all of us here in the organization. The funeral, obviously, it was unexpected, so not everyone could make it because it was just so sudden. So I was there. It was tough.
mm,
And then so yeah, so we wanted to memorialize him and have an annual uh seminar trying to go over the things that he specialized in. He specialized in Bogu Kumite. He was a Bogu Kumite champion, and he really, really, really was pushing it to be really reinvigorated with all the old Ryute and Ryuko Kempo associations.
mm.
Hasn't took 100% yet, but I did the seminar Bogu portion. It was really, really well received. We got representatives from a bunch of different organizations. Ryute showed up with Mike Klein and Kevin Pleasant. We had United Ryuku Kempo Alliance. Alan Moore and Brian came, um, and
Norris,
Brian Norris, and we had
you're welcome,
Greg,
Brian.
yes, and then we had Greg Linguist group. Daryl Pope showed up, and who else showed up? I think that was and then Gary Shull, who's kind of affiliated with everyone. He's just a kind of does his own thing.
Mm.
Really awesome guy. He showed up, and they all did. Everyone got along really well. Everyone enjoyed our presentation on how to train for Bogu Kumite, because it's not just do kata and then just throw on the helmet and kind of really go at it. There's is a different animal to it, as far as you really got to prep the body, and you really got to understand, get movement, and don't stand there and become a rock'em sock'em robot, because uh, I'm 5'4". All my instructors are like no higher than 5'6", 5'7". So
Yeah,
you
there's a real kingdom of short kings.
there is a kingdom of short
It is
kings,
a
and
kingdom. You guys like are the organization. You're like the short king organization.
It's legit. It's true. And so we can't stand in front of people and just bang. So we actually use, tactics. So we were showing what
I
kind of
hope we don't
some,
take that sentence out of context.
yeah, no. And we showed some of the things we do. I think it was well received. And I know some people want us to kind of come out and do that particular format with their group. So we're kind of negotiating that, seeing when we can come out there. We also want to have an annual seminar, and we don't want to tread on anyone's toes as
Hmm.
well. So we want to do a two-part thing. We want to do our thing and promote it, but we also want to support everybody else because they came out and supported us when we needed them the most. So we also want to send delegates over to them when they do their seminars and make sure we're maintaining or reciprocating the love and the respect that they gave us.
You know
So
what's amazing about all this, about what you just said? I think
what's
this
that?
is like the first time it's actually been more or less unified in probably 20, 30 years. Like after all that, after all the, and it's all just interpersonal conflict with people who broke off and started different organizations and stuff like that. Whether it was like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever, like it really does. Even though it wasn't necessarily the biggest thing in the world, it certainly was a better. The people who showed up representing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They didn't show up on their own. They showed up. I mean, they did, but also was representatives. I can see that from photos you had of introducing people for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everyone's had conflicts with everybody else. People are people. That's just the way the world goes, folks. But it always encourages me to see that happen. And
There's still hope in the world.
yeah, I mean, kind of, because
As bleak as it can be, there's still hope. I mean, it helps that I'm a nice guy and I know how to network with people and really just kind of you know reach people on a personal level. So that's helpful too. Like I don't go there presenting like I'm sort of authority figure. I'm a very humble guy. I say, listen, I've been doing this for over 25 years, but you guys been doing this before I was even conceived. So I'd like to have you guys over and just kind of see what we've been doing. I know you guys have relationship with Albert Giraldi, and we'd like you to come in and not only see what we're doing, but there's going to be a portion in this particular seminar where it's going to be kind of free flowing. We can exchange ideas, and that's exactly what happened. Like the first day was like Bogu Kumite. The second day was Tuite and maybe some sort of kata bunkai. But it's like this is how we see it. But let's split up and let's intermingle with each other and just on a one-on-one basis, kind of share information. I mean, Kiyoshi, my client, was showing me a whole bunch of stuff with Tuite that that's been, I guess, refined over the years, and I thought it was really, really good stuff, and it's stuff that I definitely will incorporate in my personal karate. And I know Daryl Pope is working with a few of the guys. I know uh, Kaicho Allen and Moore was working with some of the other guys. He was actually doing a lot of discussion in my living room with some of our guys, which was really nice to see. I was hoping they wouldn't throw each other through my door.
interesting.
So
Interesting.
I was like, oh yeah, keep doing that. Just don't break nothing in my living room.
Well, and I think we're reaching a certain. It's interesting to talk about this because we're reaching a certain age where we were talking about this a little before we got on air. Is that um, we're coming up to the point where we're gonna have to not be the ones participating at an event or helping out with an event, but
Yeah.
actually, if we ever have these events, we're gonna have to be the ones that put it on.
Yeah. And then that was one of the things that my instructors, Ken Peters and Anthony Carnamola, who are Hanji Giraldi's most senior students, they want to, have us guys, well, if we're hosting it in our state, to kind of be the lead,
Hmm.
be the face, and they're gonna support us and give us the information and the guidance and the knowledge to do these types of things, and which is what they did with me on the behind the scenes. This is what we should do. This is what we shouldn't do. This is things that could happen, and if this happens, this is how we should address it. Um, but most importantly, let's get them in there and let's get them sweating. Because the one thing that we noticed that would bore us would be standing there and listening to someone talk and not doing anything. And
Hmm.
we didn't want that to be the case. We wanted people to come in and literally just hear 5 or 6 words and just take those words and just run with it and just work, 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 work with partners, bags, and drills, drills, drills. And then at the end of the day, let's see how it worked. And it turned out that everyone really, really liked it. And I mean, the first day there wasn't a dry shirt in there. I mean, I'm talking about you had to wring it out. It was just soaked. I was soaked. Everyone was soaked, which helped with t-shirt sales, by the way.
I you had asked me if I wanted one. I'm like, I do, but I don't want you to pay for the expense to send it to
No, you can
Japan.
also send it over to you, man. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's going to cost
I
you
have a
80.
I do I you sent me so a couple years back I ran into a bit of a rough time. And one of the most and this is the funniest thing. Then the place I had to kind of have to do a move really quickly and da da da. And I came to where I currently live, which is redacted,
Mm-hmm.
and where I work, redacted, tends to get the mail of the people who work there at redacted in redacted town, and which is kind of funny. It doesn't go to your house; it just goes to your desk at work. So your
Mm-hmm.
mail just ends up there. I
That's
think
funny.
they stopped doing that because it hasn't happened for a little bit. But when I first
Mm-hmm.
came here, that happened.
So they just drop it off.
The mail guys just like have this. When it's normal mail, it's not a big deal. But when it's like parcels and stuff, they tend to drop it
Yeah.
off at your office, and I'm just like, that's a bit of a violation of privacy. But okay, um, we don't have that many people who live here yet. Somehow we're also world famous.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get a mail from the U.S. and I'm like, oh, thank God, it's my debit card. No, no, it's something much more valuable. It's
Mm.
the patch of Raul's dojo. I actually have it.
You got the patch.
It is a little kind of rolled back because it hasn't really been attached to anything. But this
Yep,
is
there
it.
it is. Yep, that's the patch.
All
That's
right.
my official dojo
So
patch.
I may actually throw that on a gi.
Yep.
Um, when
So
if it
anybody
goes,
who doesn't know about this is, I guess, if they're watching this, which they should be,
they should be.
um, the dojo patch was created around the vision and passion of Hanchi Abajarol. If you want to show it up real quick one more time with the patch, you want to show the patch?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I should
Um,
hold on. I should do a thing where, well, no, we're not that sophisticated here. Look, we're just gonna throw it in. Hold on. I'm gonna do. There we go. The blur's off. Look, you can see a punching bag in the back.
there it is. So that is the
Hold
the
on. Let me
the
do it right. Na, 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 na. Dun, 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 dun.
dun, dun,
All
dun.
right.
That the middle of it is the outline of the Bogo Kumite helmet that we use, and because of that, I don't hand that patch out to anybody who comes to my dojo and becomes a member of my dojo. You only get that patch if you actually participate in a Bogo Kumite match. So
Hmm.
there's only so far a few select people who've received the patch to wear, and if you do wear it, I just ask you wear it on your left shoulder.
So this is interesting because I didn't know that. Um, I had a letter from. I got a very nice letter from Raul. Like he sent a letter with it, which I'm
I
just
did
like
send
it was very
one. Very
classy.
nice.
But I didn't know that because it's interesting because this week as well, something very also kind of fortuitous happened. I have a I had a when I initially I had my first run in Japan of 3 years. I had didn't have any students in karate. I think I only had about three. Two kind of came and went. The one who stuck around, he was from where I used to live, Tokunoshima, and he when I was leaving, I had a makiwara from Shureido, worst purchase I ever made.
Really?
Um, because I couldn't put it anywhere. It was a bad idea. I was 28, whatever, and I had a Bogu gear, and I had pictures of the old masters. I got the good picture of Uehara when he was young.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
anyway, and I just
One
gave him
was
to him.
happened. He looks jacked.
Yeah, right. I'm like, why do you want? You don't want the old man picture. You want the Jack picture. We don't have one of Nakamura, but we do have one of Iwahara.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, I hadn't talked to Misato. My buddy Misato. He was my he. I trained him all throughout when he was in high school. Great kid. He's turned into a great man. He's had a lot of ups and downs. We did a triathlon. We were on a triathlon team together at one point. Um, but his mom just kept the gear. I thought they would have thrown him out because I hadn't seen him in probably 8 years. And he just messages me like, "Hey, I'm back in Tokunoshima. My mom has this stuff. You still want it? Can I still send it to you?" I'm like, "Yes." I thought you guys would have thrown it out. He's like, "Yeah, sorry. It kind of got a little moldy, over the years." And I'm like, and I showed it to Raul, and Raul was like, no problems
I,
with
I could
those
buff
things.
that out in like 2 seconds. That's good to
Yeah.
go.
And so the fact that you say that is like someone who actually has Bogu gear, and has Bogu gear that actually came from your old dojo.
Oh, you ordered it through us?
I got it through, and I had those first couple Bogu matches
Mm-hmm.
in that dojo with some of your guys. I
Did you
Pete hit that
yeah,
mask.
yeah,
Oh
that's
God, Pete
yeah,
hit that
man.
mask,
I
man.
fought Pete 3 times in my life. I fought him when he didn't know how to fight. That was a nice match. And then I fought him when he started to learn how to fight. That was an okay match. And then I fought him when he was fully knew how to fight, and that was a match. That was a fun match.
It was a fun match. It also felt like my head. That was the first time it really felt like my head was going to fall off my neck.
Yeah, well, Pete's what 6'2", 265 pounds, and most of that's muscle.
The
And you hit
giant in the
him,
realm of short kings.
you hit him, and it's like you're hitting a building. It doesn't move. His fist, his gloves are bigger than my feet. So it's like, what do you do to something that big that knows how to fight like you do? It's like, well,
Greatest
you
line I've
you
ever heard.
run a little bit. You run around in the Bogu match until he tires out, because that much muscle mass slightly tires out a lot faster than mine. And then when his hands get a little bit lower, then maybe you can come in and maybe throw a few hits on paper, but you're not going to do much damage.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, just kind of hearing you say that, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
works. That works. That's perfect, actually. No, I'm probably doing a Okinawa excursion either in October, which there may or may not be an Okinawa Kempo Tomokai. I don't know if that's happening or not. We're still
Okay.
working at the finalizing the details on that, whether or not that's going to happen. But if not, if that will not happen, I will go down in November and probably meet with those guys, but also meet with a friend of mine from New Zealand, Tuari. He's going to be in Okinawa for an entire month from New
Nice.
Zealand. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna close the blinds on this because
yeah, I can see it's kind of like the sun is rising as the sun is set
yeah,
here.
so, let me turn on some extra lighting here.
We're getting the airport the Fight Club. Do you want the front or the back?
Back, yeah.
We got
We
the
got the
front.
front.
Yeah, yeah, man. I can't begin to tell you that like it is good to see you guys kind of stepping up for training, and I think there's for whatever reason the last 10 years I think there's been kind of a lull in like people being able to start up dojos and being able to have their own thing, and it's a lot of different reasons for that:
Yeah,
economy, COVID, just general abilities to open places and whatnot. But even on a small scale, if you can get a couple people in there consistently, um,
yeah. I've been advertising a little bit more aggressively lately. There's not much interest right now for what I provide. Probably because there's a mixed martial arts school literally a half a mile away from my house. That could be one. Although that usually doesn't deter people. I think maybe the garage dojo thing might be something that people aren't used to anymore. That was something that was common back when I was growing up. I don't know about you, but most karate instructors started in their garage teaching, between 5 and 15 students. And eventually he said, you know what, maybe we should go out and commercialize this. And then you guys ready to do this, it's going to cost a little bit more. And if everyone's on board, you just transition over to buying something. So, I mean, that would be something I would probably look to do,
Yeah.
but I need the student base right now.
And that's how anything begins is like I would say don't worry about like just with just one or two people is
I'm okay with one or two people. That's how
yeah.
I had it in New York. I had two really good students in New York. Unfortunately, I had to move, so they moved on to a different system, which is fine with me. I gave them my blessing. They're flourishing in it, and I'd like to think that I had a small hand in, that they, the Bogu Kumite training and what they're doing now, which is more Kyokushin style. Uh, Basically, it kind of blended into it a little. They had an easy transition into it, and then they got placed in the fight teams rather quickly, as opposed to people who just came off the street and never learned karate. So
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
I mean
So
Kyokushin's like I mean basically Kyokushin is less geared version of uh Bogu
yeah,
and
it's just there's no head contact with the hands. That's the only difference.
well no head contact with the hands.
Yeah,
Tell that to some 65-year-olds I knew in Jima.
yeah, I know.
Hey, they were a fun crowd. Uh,
they were
where
working on they were working on the round eye.
well, that was the thing, man. Like those guys were like willing to like go like head kick at like 60.
I know.
So it's like, yeah, I know everyone's like, oh, head kicks. What are you gonna do that? And these guys still do it, and then
Hmm.
probably can do it whenever. So there's that. But yeah, no, it's just good to see that. And I think the I agree with you that I didn't see it a lot growing up because when I was growing up, I was just like I saw commercial dojos and like, okay, how do they get there? It's
Yeah,
exactly how you said. You have to build a student base and then go from there. That's the biggest challenge. That's the biggest jump. Um, and not enough people, I think, get that. It
it's
didn't
okay.
come. It didn't come out of nowhere.
I got some small interests right now through my church. So I'm actually I didn't even tell you about this yet. I'm actually working on a women's self defense program.
Okay.
So it's somebody who approached me. She has her own separate women's group that she deals with outside of the church, and they were discussing violence. What can they do? She was a victim of violence,
Mm.
and I've been a victim of violence too. I mean, apart from Boku Kumite. I've been mugged. I've been jumped in a rough neighborhood when I was growing up. I had a knife put to my throat and asked for money. I had no money. I had to explain to him, I live in the same neighborhood you do. What do you think? What makes you think I have money? Can you please like not murder me in the streets right now? And he eventually just let me go. But So I have a slideshow on violence. I have a slideshow on like, what are key indicators that one not only you've been picked for violence, but you're being interviewed to have violence committed against you. And then what are the telltale signs? Weight shifting of the body, nervous stitching, they're just maybe they're patting themselves, making sure that they have the weapon on them. A whole bunch of things I have listed out that we can kind of go over, and then I have an actual video that I've spliced from different videos from YouTube of actual violent encounters that kind of coincide with all the telltale signs that led up to it, and you can kind of see it in real life, although it happens rather quickly. When you're in the moment, time kind of slows down a little bit with
Mm.
adrenaline, so you can probably pick up on these things. Plus, you get this beautiful thing called fear, the gift of fear that kind of kicks in, and if you have this gift of fear that's picking up and you're feeling fear, chances are there's a reason why you're feeling fear, and you should really start acknowledging it and acting accordingly.
That's is that. And like,
Yeah.
I think, and this is I've talked with others here about this as well, where it's like it's not impossible, but it is that is something that dojo culture doesn't exactly picked up on in terms of being able to integrate that kind of properly into like the gi. Like everyone's in a gi type doing that type
Yeah,
of
it's
training.
different. Like
Like
dojo
the
training,
bogu is not. It might teach you some sort of fear.
but it doesn't teach a dialogue.
You know.
So there's an actual, now I explain that at the actual the Bogu Kumite seminar. It's like, there's an actual dialogue that you have to kind of have with someone. And so you're not in a ready stance, you're not in a fighting stance. You're actually trying to figure out what they want from you. And whether it is, if I give them this, will they go away? Or if I give them this and they're sticking around, and now they're looking around to see if anybody else is around. It's like they want more, and they're gonna take it from me.
Yeah.
And then, the fear, there's a different type of fear that you kind of feel in a violent encounter. It's really hard to explain. Having been through a few of them, it's like it's sometimes it makes the adrenaline is a lot more intense, and it really stops you from doing certain things. And the only way to get past that is, one, sparring helps. It does 100%. But the other thing is you really have to keep up with, some sort of realistic type training. Uh, and I don't think the women's group is ready for that yet, to be honest.
Well,
So
and getting, and even like getting students in who are regular in karate, it's like I think everyone gets into like, hey, we're all gonna line up and do the thing, and everyone
yeah,
gets into routine,
it's different. It's different, and for a
and
violent encounter like that.
literally the what you're training is to detrain routine.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. So in my particular program, I've limited down to there's two defensive postures you're going to do that help you cover most of the encounters you're going to deal with, and then there's 5 or 6 techniques that you're going to be working on. That's it. From different distances, you got a front kick, you got a palm strike, you got knees, maybe you got some elbows, and then trying to cover up your vital points as you're being attacked. I mean,
Yeah.
because chances are, you're a woman, and there's a guy, and they're going to be physically stronger than you. You're going to have to survive the initial attack, and then counterattack and try to get the hell out of there. And there's two basic postures in the self defense community. I mean, there's the covering. There's a spear posture that Tony Blauer has really immortalized out there, and then there's another posture where like you're really covering up, and you're slamming into the opponent as they're
Mm.
coming at you. Because where's um, the most danger when someone's throwing punches at you? Is it when they're just about to punch you, or is it right at the end of the punch, where all that force is maximized, and you don't want to be there, so you want to collapse it. So you're doing something that's not natural. Everyone wants to get away from it, but you're just leaving yourself in that range where you're just getting the full power of the blows. Where if I were to smother the blow and then live in that clinch area where I can grab with a tie clinch and throw knees and elbows and scratch and put my fingers in your eyes and then run out of their eyes, they're trying to deal with all that, you might have a better chance. You know what I mean?
Nahachi Shodan is what you're saying.
But yeah, shit,
I
we
just
were.
realized that like half the time I was looking like I was like leaning over the mic. But
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. A lot of Nahanchi techniques are in there, so it's like you can't tell that to these people because
right. Well,
they're not here for the karate program, which is fine.
but it's
But
just
yeah,
like, okay, this is like it's this is what I found with studying Nahachi, where it's like that's all close in stuff. This is not
mhm,
long distance. I actually think that if you there's an argument to be made where you tie Naihachi into that, and then you tie Nahachi into like basic punching,
mhm,
right? Because is that when I had actually not learned Nahachi as my first basic kata, but when I learned it, I'm like, oh, you learned how to punch from this, like actually like throw something rather than just going, right? And then you tie that into Bogu, and then you tie that into self defense.
mhm.
Nice little circle there. This is an aside, but yeah, you're right. It's like they're if you can simplify it to that and run a good program and get people to be like, hey, I want to do this more.
Yeah. So right now I'm negotiating. Just I said I'll do it for free as far as like the sit down and discussion of violence and slideshow. So just to see, just to give them an idea of what's out there and what they can see, and then have a conversation with the group saying, hey, all right, knowing this, what do you want to do about it? I mean, because in the slideshow, I say, well, there's 3 levels that you could do. I mean, you can learn hands-on stuff, which, that's gonna gonna be the least effective for a woman versus a man. Going hands-on is gonna be tough, but it's something you kind of have to know. too. You have to have some familiarity of, you know, being hands on with somebody. And then the other thing is incorporating weapons into your daily carry. In South Carolina, it is a really, really good concealed carry state where you can carry a firearm on you. So I would recommend that, or at the bare minimum, a knife.
Did you just throw in a little Southern Carolina and twang into there?
I might have. I've been here for a little bit.
Because you did the plural of use guys as us guys earlier. I'm like, oh
Yes.
well, there's the New York, but uh,
Uses the
uses
Utes
use guys. Well, I'm from
guys.
Philly. Philly is essentially cousin dialect of that, but
Yeah.
cool.
I've used y'all a couple times now, so it's getting there.
Oh, when my father lived in Kentucky, when he moved back northeast, he was like saying that all that in that twang. My siblings noticed that and was like, yeah, I guess just needs to be here for 6 months and get that out of his system.
It happens.
Yeah. Anyway, um, cool. I
Yeah.
have, I'm so rusty at this. I don't know where this has began or ended. But we're gonna just. I think that's kind of a
Keep it
good
going.
place to leave it at
Yeah,
because
look good.
yeah, going into the future, you've got something going on. I may or may not have something going on, depending.
Yeah, I'm
But
fully supportive of that. When you get something going, I will put your website on my website.
or I might put that website on your website and that website, and somehow, some way, make that all from the ground up.
There you
But
go.
that's another conversation for another day.
Yep.
Any closing statements, thoughts, feelings, emotions?
Emotions. Well, sadness for this year for losing our association head, uh, Mr. Albert Oliver Giraldi. We do miss you. You left us with something that's kind of difficult to fill,
Mm.
honestly. So what we've decided is we're going to come as a group. We're not going to have one figurehead run it. We're going to have a collective group get together, and we're going to, we have people who've been there from the beginning. We've got people who've been there from the middle. We've got people who showed up at the end. We all have our own ideas, and we all get together every month, and we come up with ideas of what we want to do, and we all agree to it as a group, and then we go forward with it. And I think it's worked out really well so far. And we're here to uh, keep keep the teachings alive. I think we all, as any student wants to do for their teachers, they want to keep what they've learned and push it forward. Will there be changes to it? Probably, but the core principles are still going to be there. And I think we look forward to continuing our friendships with all the other organizations. Continue friendship with you, obviously. I mean, we've always been friends, and I've always been here on the sidelines to support you in anything that you've done. So that's never going to change. And
That's always appreciated, 100,
yeah,
percent and that's 100% like Raul was like tempting me to like join an organization again. I was like, how like me and him had a conversation. I'm just like,
if you want to come
mm.
on in, you're more than
like, I was
you want
like,
to be part of an organization, we have the support here for you. And if it doesn't have to be us. I mean, I'll support you in anything you do, man. But letting you know that our organization is going through a restructuring. The restructuring is basically set now. We know what we want to do. We have the people in place that we want in place. So and I think it's really in a positive direction. I mean, we not I know for me and talking to some of the other guys, we're really our training has upped. We've been really reinvigorated with the spirit of teaching and training, and I think we're on a positive path.
no, and I think that is the best you can make out of something like this.
Yeah,
And I think when these things happen, that tends to happen. But I mean, it's sad that that's the case.
yeah,
But I mean, there's also kind of a celebration of a life, and then a celebrate and kind of a continuation of a legacy.
hmm
And I think hopefully more and more people pick up on that, and it just continues to go forward. And as I always tell people, karate is not individual. I think with COVID
basically,
and
but you've got to be part of something.
yeah, exactly. And like with COVID and with whatever, a lot of people have kind of been there. I don't want to blame YouTube for this. I'm kind of contribute to this, I suppose, but there's a lot of like personalization of karate, and it's never been that. You can't do karate online. I'm sorry, and this is a guy who was online with karate saying that you can't do that. Um,
Hands-on is the best method, in my
yeah,
opinion.
and so
A lot of
my
things you don't see, a lot of things you don't feel.
mm,
And I mean, that was apparent at the seminar. One, seeing us do our stuff, but also working one on one with different instructors who have been in with Oyata directly for decades. Apart from Mr. Giraldi, who's the only exposure I've had with senior Oyata students, but working with other people, feeling their techniques, showing me how they got achieved that particular reaction in my body, and it's like that was interesting. I like that. I take that.
yeah, and the only way you're able to like keep it up is by having people around you and having. I hate to say, I don't want to put this in any weird way, but it's like you got to have kids. I
Yeah.
think there's unfortunately there's a lot of people nowadays who are like, nah, I don't want to teach children. No, 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 no.
Well,
And,
right now I'm not. My facility isn't ready for kids. I'm
no,
gonna.
and that's not. Maybe there's exceptions to a rule at certain
Yeah,
point,
I
but
mean,
it's
if
like,
I get a commercial dojo, obviously kids, a
yeah,
program for kids is a must because those not only they help pay the bills, but it also like everyone who actually has interacted with me here in the South and realizes I'm a martial instructor, the first thing they ask is, "Do you teach kids?"
yeah,
So it's like at this point, I can't right now.
mm,
Eventually, probably, but right now, I mean, the space and the equipment and stuff like that is not big enough for somebody to run around.
yeah,
It's just big enough for someone to fight in and someone to do kata and someone to train in hard. But you need a little bit more space. You need to play. I've been a kids instructor for decades, and I know what it takes to keep their attention span. And you need a little bit more. You need a little bit more equipment, a little bit more space, and a little bit more enthusiasm. And with my schedule at work, I
yeah,
got 2 days a week. You got me for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours those 2 days. So it's got to maximize the best I could do. Right now, it's transferring the information to somebody who can actually understand it versus dumbing it down for. I don't say it like that, but you're dumbing it down for a child to enjoy it while they learn some principles, not everything.
yeah. And I think that's the thing where it's like there is gonna be you're kind of doing in the beginning, but I think the real issue is there's I think a lot of people who have that knowledge and stuff like that, but they're just very no, no, no to that. And as someone who's been a teacher for a while, oh yes, 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 you do need that.
You do
Not
need it.
just for the money, not just for the programming, not whatever. You don't. You maybe have 100 kids roll through a program. You don't know which one's going to stick around
You don't know, and you
as
know
the
what?
adult.
There's kids now that I taught when they were 15, 12, 8 years old. They're adults now. They've graduated college now, and it's crazy how much you still keep in contact with them.
Yeah,
Even if they don't do karate anymore, you still build a relationship with them, and you were an impact on their life at one point, and they're a better person because of it. So it's just it's important because if you like the karate aspect is for the community. Well, I'm giving a community service. I'm making sure that these people are well adjusted, and that they're respectful. They've adhered to certain tenets that they were trying to do, and at the end of the day, they can protect themselves. That's what we're trying to do. But see them grow to be, police officers, businessmen, um, and stuff like that, becoming, community leaders eventually. It's like that's amazing.
yeah. And that's the thing where it's like you need to be able to, and that's what's going to keep things going. And
Yeah,
and that's where the best of this lies. This is where the worst of it can lie too, but that's where the best of karate lies in a community. And the
yep,
fact that you're bringing more people together, that's fantastic. So I applaud you for that. Thank you for your
fine,
support, buddy. And
no
hey,
problem. Every time.
I'm happy to have you back on the podcast and happy to kind of kick off this iteration of the
Yeah,
podcast.
that's cool. I mean, if later
So
on you guys you want to do some sort of training um podcast together or something, that'd be something we can do.
yeah, we there's things in the works right now. This is kind of our opening salvo.
Yeah.
So we'll
I mean, we do the 100 kata together like every year. So that's
yes, which is
pretty
also coming
cool.
up. I'm
Yeah, it's
not to
coming.
do a preview. Stay tuned. But maybe I should do a little more on the business front with the podcast. But never
Mm,
kind of been that guy.
yeah.
I've tried to be that guy every once in a while, but it's like, yeah,
Mm,
not if I don't do this, if I can't do this for fun, I can't do anything for fun.
yeah, it's
So,
true.
well, cool, man. It's good having you
Yeah,
on.
good
And
seeing you.
yeah, cool. I hope everybody's out there who's listening to this is being like, hey, a new podcast has dropped. Let's listen.
Let's
But
do it.
yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Raul, thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
Everybody, don't forget to
Paul
keep
thanks
on.
you.
What?
Paul thanks you.
Paul thanks us. Well, God save us, Paul, everybody. And everybody, don't forget to keep training.